RuneScape's greatest asset is being able to pull you into the world of Gielinor and allow you to explore places that are rich with life, danger and full of excitement. That is the plan Andrew Gower had in place about 25 years ago, when he made the first version of RuneScape, and to this day you can still visit iconic places like Lumbridge, Varrock, Edgeville and many more that were released in 1999. However, due to unforeseeable circumstances, Andrew Gower sold the successful game he built from scratch and instead started working on a new project. It took him over 10 years of planning, building a brand new game engine and working for thousands of hours, but it might finally start to pay off this year as we're gonna see the release of Brighter Shores, which is the next generation of RuneScape style MMO focused on skilling, bossing, quests and vibrant gameplay. Now I am certain that Andrew would love to strive away from the RuneScape era and integrate this game as its own universe. But for better or worse, this game has a lot of things in common with RuneScape. So today I want to go over all the information we currently have available to us and find out what Brighter Shores does better than RuneScape. First of all, and this is the most important aspect above all else, which is that Andrew Gower has promised that he's not gonna make the same mistake again. And unlike in RuneScape, he's never planning to sell this game no matter if it's gonna be successful or not. This is almost a direct quote. The only thing selling this game is gonna give me is money, which I don't need. By selling RuneScape many years ago and being smart about his investments, he doesn't have to worry about financial gains anymore, which means there is zero incentive to ever sell this game. This is my personal opinion, but I think Jagex having 5 different owners in the last 10 years has created a lot of obstacles for RuneScape. The game can't reach its full potential if owners of the game are swapped out every few years, because for the current owners the goal will forever and always be the same: make the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time, and that isn't always the best for the game. Well, this isn't likely gonna be the case for Brighter Shores, which already makes me believe that it isn't going to be tainted by greedy businessmen and instead given the thought and love coming from a gamer. Brighter Shores doesn't have a publisher, which means Andrew Gower doesn't have anyone breathing down his neck asking to make more profit every year. It's all about doing it for the love of the game. Now, this was one of the first pieces of information I heard about this game, which actually made me want to do this video in the first place. I mean, how can you not get excited over the fact that the game is made entirely for gamers by gamers, and the publisher who wants to squeeze the most amount of money out of their customers isn't even an option this time around. Secondly, Andrew Gower has stated that the entire economy and the game itself has been built around bots and real-world trading, and that's in a good way. Let me explain. Any older generation MMO, including RuneScape, is firstly built, and once it's completed, the company starts to think about bots and gold sellers, which by that point is already too late. Sometimes developers even encourage players to use bots and open up a gold selling market. That leads to one single very bad thing, which is that the player experience suffers greatly. The most recent example from old school RuneScape is the Leviathan boss. There was a Reddit thread where a player was tracking down the top page of Leviathan kill counts, because guess what? The entire top page is infested by bots, and the script makers managed to get over 15,000 kill count in 48 hours, which equals to roughly about 11 billion GP making into old school RuneScape every single day. And we are just talking about a single boss out of the dozens that the game has. This has massive implications for players who firstly want to hunt this boss for money, because the problem is very simple: they can't keep up with the bots, and that also means the value of uniques are dropping quite fast. And this is a very common occurrence in any MMO. Bots come in, they take all the money, once the boss becomes useless, they move on to another boss and the cycle continues. Andrew Gower knows all of this, and he designed the game around exactly that to prevent it from ever happening in Brighter Shores. Unfortunately, we don't know the details quite yet until the game is released, but Andrew has stated multiple times in previous interviews that bots are the biggest issue in RuneScape, and building his very own game engine from scratch will make it extremely difficult for bot makers to actively seek out gold farming. And honestly, that is great news. Once again, just thinking outside the game before we even get into the details, those are 2 big reasons why players could have a very enjoyable gaming experience. And you know something else? I recently found out that over 88% of my viewers aren't subscribed to my channel. So if there was another big reason to join our community, this is it. Because I'll tell you what, 2024 is gonna be a great year and you don't wanna miss out. Thank you very much. But what about the game itself? Well, we already have tons of information on how the game is gonna work. Many RuneScape players call this the next generation of RuneScape, and that is for one reason. Brighter Shores simply does many things better than RuneScape, and there are game features that I wish we had in our current game. Firstly, I want to talk about one of my personal favorite features, which is the examine options. If you don't know how the examine option works in RuneScape, you can basically click any object, NPC or item in the game and you get back a flavor text. Usually it's pretty basic, sometimes it has good comedic value like the camo top which says examine what. That is some top-notch, dry British humor. However, for Brighter Shores, the examine options are their own entire interface with tons of useful information. This time around, instead of right-clicking an NPC and using examine option, instead a new interface menu is brought up, and it has detailed information about each item. It could be something as simple as broken card, which reads, I hope they were insured, and it's coming in clutch with that same dry humor again. Or it could be a rare item that gives you detailed description on what that item does. In this case, the wrinkled starfish, which costs 380 bronze coins and boosts your stats. Not only that, but the examine cards also hold a lot of other useful information like health bars, combat levels, immunities, and much more. In RuneScape, we have a spell called Monster Examine, which gives all the information to the player after you spend hours completing quests, unlocking spellbooks, and only then you can examine certain monsters. But it seems that for Brighter Shores, this option is available to all players from the beginning, which allows you to strategize against monsters and find their weaknesses. The reason why you would want this system is simple. The combat in Brighter Shores seems to be much more punishing. Once you enter the room, you can't just leave because the exits to the room are locked until you cast an immunity spell, and that spell takes some time to activate. The entire purpose of this is so you can't just jump around between different rooms to lose aggro. In fact, funnily enough, this exact system was used in RuneScape Classic 25 years ago, where you couldn't just escape combat anytime you wanted, and getting into the wrong fights oftentimes just caused you to die. So you actually had to be careful who you choose to fight, which I think is gonna be a great feature in Brighter Shores as well. The other thing that really fascinates me is the 3 classes you are given at the start of the game. This time around, they are all Mage Classes, but with different styles. Firstly, I will say that you can purchase membership on one account, and that allows you to play on 3 different characters. So you can try out all the 3 classes the game has to offer without needing to spend extra real-life money. In fact, the game itself is free to play, so you don't even have to pay any money at all. You can just download it once it comes out and give it a try to see if you like it. But let's get back to the classes. So it has 3 of them, and all are identified as Mage Classes. The first is Cryonite, which is a melee-style magic class with ice spells. So for old school RuneScape players, it has some similarities to the Blue Moon armor, which combines magic and melee together for some powerful damage. The second class is Guardian, which has some ranged weaponry and nature magic. And the final class is Hammer Mage, which uses storm magic, and I imagine the power of your spells is also attached to your weapons in some form. Training all of these classes up is going to be much more easier than it currently is in RuneScape. In fact, Andrew seems to even encourage players to gain experience while they are logged out. In this picture you can see the text passive activity until you log back in, meaning you can likely continue to gain experience very slowly in skills even if you don't play. This actually goes in line with the current RuneScape ideology as well, because as cheesy as it sounds, times are changing, which means players just have less time to play. No longer it's feasible to spend 12 hours a day just to gain few levels. The skills you train will still take time to get the maximum levels, but it's not thousands of hours like it is in RuneScape. Andrew mentioned that they took a lot of inspiration from other tabletop RPGs, so if you're a fan of Dungeons and Dragons or any other tabletop game in that style, this could be something for you. It also explains the dial grid system they have in place. A lot of people are saying the dial system is very similar to RuneScape, which it does have similarities, but I'd rather say it's much more in line with your average tabletop RPGs and kinda like rolling the dice on which tile you're gonna land. And it also explains a lot about the rooms, because oftentimes when you play any tabletop game, you have limited space to work with, so every new room is its own adventure. It also helps that when you do go on adventures, you oftentimes don't fall into the same boring grinds over and over again, as it seems there is a lot of activities to do, starting from skilling or combat and even trying out multiple chapters and storylines. For example, let's take fishing. The most active method seems to be spear fishing. Then we have firstly the solo fishing method, and we also have the 2-player fishing, where each player holds one side of the net, plus also the AFK method I mentioned before, before, which allows you to log out and still gain fishing experience among other levels. Or in the case of woodcutting, we have things like trimming the trees, using the normal woodcutting methods, or even having two-handed axes, which once again require 2 players to train the skill. So you're not forced to sit in one place for hours to gain experience. The rooms you see on the screen do have limited amount of players in them, and if that exceeds, another instance will be created. These rooms have limits depending on their location. So for example, the marketplace will have more people in them, but something like boss areas are going to be much smaller. This means that you don't have to worry about getting crashed, and you also don't have to worry about word hopping like you do in Runescape. In simple words, the game detects if you're being crashed by other players, and the best part is all of this will be happening on the back end. So the player has to never worry about any waiting time or loading times. Everything is flowing smoothly when you're jumping from one room to another, and there's no loading screens. Also, my personal favorite part about this is that let's say your friend is fighting a boss and you want to join them. The game will always put you in the same instance, so you don't have to worry about killing the same boss in different rooms. Once you're finished with skilling or bossing, you can either turn your supplies into desired resources or you can sell them at the market. The game does have a very interesting currency system where you have golden coins, silver coins and bronze coins. So basically 1000 bronze turns into 1 silver, 1000 silver turns into 1 gold, and so on. But all of this gold and resources begs one question: how does the game deal with bots and real world trading? Well, first of all, the game is run on its own self-made engine made by Andrew himself, which means it's gonna be extremely difficult to make bots in the first place. Secondly, the player-to-player trading is only accessed if you buy the membership or the premium pass. So essentially all the free-to-play players are Iron Man. They can discover new stories, play the game for hours, but if they actually want to trade other players, they need to spend real-life money to gain access to trading, which is going to massively limit the amount of bots that enter the game. Overall, it looks like Andrew with few other ex-Jagex moderators have made this as their only project, which is definitely a labor of love similar to how RuneScape development started over 25 years ago. And honestly, given our only options to play RuneScape-like games are RuneScape 3 and old school RuneScape, it's about time there was some competition in this specific MMO style for Jagex. I think Jagex has been taking advantage of no competition for far too long now, and this is honestly good for everyone, the players and the companies. Competition always brings out the best in these scenarios, and I'm excited to see what everyone is cooking up. But the most important thing here is that RuneScape has proven that this style of MMO already works, and currently I have no reason to think Brighter Shores is gonna be anything else but success. Andrew's heart seems to be in the game development, and I truly hope the game will be good, for his sake and ours. I'm at least giving the respect to try this out myself because he made me addicted to one of his other games that I've now played for almost 20 years. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, consider subscribing to the channel. But that's it from me. I love you all very much, and I'll see you all tomorrow with another video. Bye.